result being announced by unpatriotic presiding officers who are supposed to be quite conversant with the provision of the law. But like I have said in our press conference, we have one country called Nigeria. We are committed to Nigeria. We are committed to the peace and stability of Nigeria. And the law that established INEC gave them the authority to conduct elections, equally gave them the power to declare the winner of the election. And we supported the declaration by INEC of His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu by winning the election. We also urge all those who disagree with the processes to go through our court system, because in the absence of not doing that, it means we are inviting anarchy, we are inviting instability. At least we are struggling to keep Nigeria safe right now. We are struggling with a lot of displaced people, insecurity, Boko Haram, kidnappers, members, rappers, all over the place. So at this point, we cannot make the situation to look extremely complicated for whatever interest. Our interest is Nigeria, and we want Nigeria to be stable. We want the election to be very peaceful. We want the election to be very harmonious. And those who have lost should accept it in good faith. We have accepted as a party that we are not contesting the presidential election. We congratulated the presidential candidate, also congratulated President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So in that regard, the mixed reactions are real, are genuine, are very sincere. And of course, INEC themselves must go back to the drawing board. We thought that the state elections would be much, much better, much more sophisticated than what we have saw. What we saw at the governorship election leaves much more to be desired. It's very, very, very disgraceful to the country as a whole, because in most of the places, just like what was recorded, beavers were not deployed, beavers did not use. We have complained to INEC officially, we have drawn their attention while the activities was ongoing. And yet, you know, it appears that the chairman of the INEC is extremely very handicapped, because he's just overseeing a situation where there's nothing he can do. People compromise this process. INEC did not know the people that are presiding over these processes. They were just being appointed to supervise the elections, and both of them represent a lot of interests at various locations. So, but the nation have to move on, despite the hard feelings, the deliberate provocation.
To be clear, what you're saying is you do not have any issue, any problem with the outcome of the election, but the process. Is that clear?
Yes, the process is very faulty. Election has been declared officially. The law authorized INEC to conduct and declare election. We stand by the declaration of INEC. We await what the court can do, because various interested parties that have issues with the processes have gone to court. Some of them have filed, some of them are in the process of filing. We equally encourage them to go to court, because that is the only way we can strengthen our democratic institutions. We cannot allow our democratic institutions to continue weakened by desperate elements who don't understand a transparent process, or who don't understand what it takes to follow a transparent process. I want to remind you one thing. I was among the youngest people who worked so hard in restoration of democracy. My boss then led led the G7 movement that led to the restoration of democracy. We went through a lot of turbulent, period in the restoration of democracy. He was arrested, sent to prison. So many people were sent to prison. Among the founding fathers of the PDP, it is only, I think, Sule Lamido that is alive today. Most of them are known. So I'm part of the process that fought for the restoration of this democracy, from G7, G18, G34. So I understand the dynamics, and I understand where the process has been abused, how people are feeling. By now, we shouldn't be experimenting as a nation, closing about almost 30 years of deep democracy, electoral processes. We are still struggling to get a process that is decent, that is responsible, that is acceptable to Nigeria. It is a shame to find a process that is acceptable by all of us. The bridges are unnecessary, the grid are unnecessary, because everybody will do his best and leave the country behind. And then you have to leave a country with a legacy that posterity can record you, as a mark of moving the country forward. But the kind of greed that we have seen, the desperation we have seen, the desperate attempt to make sure INEC system collapses at all costs, because some people believe that without them the country cannot move forward. So it's a tragedy that we are going through this once again. I thought the struggle to take the military back to barrack was the best that we can do, and I also thought that the politicians have learned their lesson. But when you look at people that have served the government in the capacity of ministers or at different levels, today are the one compromising the system, talking down on the system, trying to create problems in the system. It means that we have a long way to go as citizens, and we must learn our lesson, looking at what our neighbors are going through, the kind of violence and barbarism going, in our neighboring countries. That Nigeria, as sophisticated, as educated as we are, we should be very civilized in our conversations, disagreeing on issues. So the court is the only way that we can solve these issues. Nobody should call for any violence, a killing or maiming and so on and so forth. Nobody should take law into his hands. The processes must improve. It's compulsory if we are to have a very peaceful political environment for everybody to have a sense of belonging.
All right, Alhaji, you have spoken about beavers, and I understand your disappointment. But beyond beavers, opinions are divided over INEC performance in these elections. What's your view on this?
Had it been beavers were utilized effectively and efficiently, you wouldn't have any other issue. Like I said, the laws are very clear. You can only cast your vote after you've been accredited, either by fingerprint or visual capturing. Now, once that law is being respected, you will not find any conflict. There is no possibility of any conflict. Those who violated the process, and INEC allowed them to violate the process, where results are altered, physically altered, and then the law says the supervising officer can declare that election cancelled once result sheets are altered or the ballot box is being tampered with, that election of that particular polling unit can be cancelled. That is the provision. But you can see the negation of the process completely. Once INEC INEC have done the needful, trained people sufficiently to deal with the beaver system, because the report you have seen in most of the states of the Federation, videos, evident videos of people thumbprinting in the various states of the Federation, result sheets, ballot papers, altering. It's uncalled for at the level that we are today. The billions that was sunk to conduct this election, if you bring it pari passu with the situation that we have today, you ask yourself whether it merited it or not, because it's a public funds that was injected. And what is it that we cannot accept, that one can win, one can lose? There can be one president at a time. So the process was really faulty. Like I have mentioned, the beavers were not effectively being deployed. It happens to me personally, which I have recorded. I have complained about it in my own constituency and in several other constituencies. There are many states INEC ought to have cancelled them, and make sure that they fix a date that sufficient deployment can be made so that proper election can be conducted. I've seen the videos of what happened in Rivers. It's a shame that we cannot conduct the states where beavers were not deployed. People just wrote results. How can we continue with this kind of impunity in a country where we have invested on our life to build an institution?
All right, so who is to blame? Alhaji, who is to blame? INEC or the political class for the sundry inadequacies?
Both of us are responsible. INEC, as an institution that was established by law to conduct election, must take responsibility. I'm happy they have taken responsibility. They say they are investigating thoroughly. Number two, the political players, the candidate must also take responsibility, because talks do not fall from heaven. It's the people, politicians, that mobilize talk to disrupt the process. And then the conspiracy of the political elites to ensure that there's a confusion or to ensure that the system is being hijacked. You can see people hijacking ballot boxes, result sheets, ballot papers physically. And you see security men right there watching, doing nothing about it. You can see some aides of governors counting money, physically distributing money. There is no arrest so far that have been announced. It's in videos, went viral all over the place. You can hear people releasing audios that are provocative, that have created a lot of tension in the system. And you have effective security agencies that ought to have performed efficiently, effectively for the stability of Nigeria, for peace and unity of Nigeria. So the entire, actors in the game must take responsibility. Parties must take responsibility. Candidates must take responsibility. But more so, INEC must take most of the responsibility because by law, they are the ones to conduct elections. Party produces candidates for the elections. So both, key actors compromises the process. And I believe that this should be a lesson for all of us as actors, as players in the field, because posterity will not be kind to us. The younger generations that are agitating, that are fighting for fairness and justice and equity, you cannot take away their issues. They are factual. They are right, by some of the things that has happened. Because we were not transparent enough to avoid some of these issues that have happened. INEC is battling with image issues, more than any other time in the history of Nigeria. You can imagine that a country that have registered over 90 million voters end up with producing 8 million plus, to produce the president of Nigeria. You can see just the Abia election that was just declared, about 9,000 or something votes, if I'm not making a mistake, made somebody a governor of the state. How do you define legitimacy? How do you define a legitimacy in the situation like this? The last election in a number 100 and something thousand votes, produces a governor of a state. In the state where you have more than 2 million registered voters. Now, if the followership have problem, the leadership equally have problem. But in this case, you see much of the problem with the followership. You can see physically people are the conscience being bought with rice, with spaghetti, with omo, with a lot of things. Physically, you see it happening everywhere. People use different means to buy votes. The buying of vote is one of the major things that, have discredited the entire exercise. I do hope and I do pray that as citizens will come back to our senses, will do the needful, will allow the system to work, because no matter how you want to do it, except we, Nigerians, agree that we'll be decent, we'll be humble in the way and the manner we conduct ourselves. Otherwise, there's no any miracle. Nothing will fall from heaven. We are responsible for most of the mess that have taken place.
Right. So aside from vote buying, which you just mentioned, what other factors do you think influenced the voting and outcome of the 2023 election?
Number one, I have mentioned it before, the policy of the government as regards to redesigning of the Naira and Naira circulation grossly affected this election. There is no government on earth that can take this insensitive decision at the eve of election. You disenfranchise people by denying them the means to go to even the polling unit. You saw a lot of people trekking. Some of them were not even privileged to cast their votes. You see the weaponization of poverty above any other consideration that you can think of. People are terribly hungry and looking for what to eat, by all means. So easy distraction was created because poverty was terribly weaponized. And the government must take responsibility. I have said this, President Muhammadu Buhari must take responsibility for the low turnout of voters. This is the same president who said one of the legacy he wants to leave behind is a legacy of free and fair election. There was no free and fair election. We accommodate what have happened as a nation, but he must take responsibility because the turnout turned out to be the lowest. President Shagari votes that produced as the president of Nigeria was almost similar to the one that produced the current president-elect that we have, which is a shame, which means that we have not moved on as a nation. We are retrogressive instead of moving forward, instead of progressively moving forward, advancing our thinking, advancing our behavior, advancing our conversation. This election happened between three major tribes. I can say it clearly, and which is a great disservice to the country. It's an election between the Yorubas, the Igbos, and the so-called House of Fulanis. The presidential election, which is a shame that at this level we still go on ethnic bigotry, religious leaders making pronouncements, making endorsements, making insensitive statements And then you see security agencies aloof to it, showing nonchalant attitude to it. You see the government that is in charge of the security agencies saying nothing about it, as if it is a normal behavior that we should go through as a nation. So a lot of characteristics that have happened before the election influences the entire election as a whole. And that is not good for the country. The executive arm of the government have not done their best before the election because the environment wasn't conducive. It is the executive that is responsible for creating conducive environment for election to take place, not INEC. And I have always said that INEC is not independent to an extent that they do not arrest, they don't have the security agencies to arrest, they do not create conducive environment, they wait for environment to be created for them to deploy sensitive materials. In this case, INEC have done to a large extent marvelously well in terms of mobilization. But was the environment conducive? Were the security agencies properly prepared to deal with agents of saboteurs that have compromised the country? Was the security agencies able to arrest those who compromised the law? And did the INEC order for the arrest of resident electoral commissioners or returning officers for violating the process to be arrested? Were they arrested? So if you do not create these deterrents, I don't see any hope, even in the future election, that things are likely to change. And then we don't have any option. We have chosen democracy, we will go by it. If we refuse to learn in a civilized way, we will learn in a hard way. You know, and so many factors are responsible, created by the government, that determine the outcome of the election, even before the election.
All right, let's now talk about SDP came sixth in the presidential election, won 2 senatorial and 4 House of Representatives seats. And I know you've accepted the presidential election, but you say you will challenge the National Assembly elections in places you believed the SDP won. Tell me more about that and what next for the party from here?
Well, I'm happy that despite the hostile environment we find ourselves, and let me make this very clear so that you'll understand. APC are the government that is in power. They have access to resources, they have access to public funds. PDP have governors, have senators, House of Reps, they have access to public funds. Labour Party, the presidential candidate was a former governor twice, was a board member, also vice presidential candidate to Vice President Abubakar. Then the NNPP candidate, Senator Musa Rabiu Konkoso, was a governor twice, was a minister, so he has some level of resources available to him. SDP was the only party that fought through the struggle. We went through the jungle. We fought hard. We marketed the party. We defended the party. Our vote that we got was hard-earned vote because we have no money anywhere to buy anybody or to buy the conscience of anybody. And we are grateful to Nigeria for believing in us, for remodeling the party, for rejiggling the party, the mentality of the party. We changed the narrative from the narrative that was known for selling the party or selling the candidate out. We have never done that. We issued a clear statement. We did not compromise any candidate of the party. We stood by all our candidates up to this last election. I'm very happy that we recorded success under my leadership. I'm grateful to God. I'm grateful to Nigerians that supported this party. This is the party for the future. And then we'll continue to ride on it. We'll continue to work hard. We'll continue to contribute our quota. We are now part of those that will add value to a new Nigeria in the parliament. We'll make sure that we distinguish ourselves in terms of the quality of ideas that we generate. We'll push our senators, House of Reps, state assembly members that we have gotten these elections. We'll make sure that we organize a very close interface between us and them to deal with national issues that will enhance the efficacy of our country and the productivity of the country and the quality of the life of Nigerians. So we are on board. We are grateful that Nigerians have put us on board, in this election, and we'll work with government that is willing to listen to quality advice. We'll contribute efficiently for our country to move on. We'll not allow anything that will take this country down. We'll not support any anarchic situation that will take Nigeria down. We believe in the sanctity of the life of Nigeria. We believe in the rule of law. And I also hope that the privilege to be elected understand the dynamic of the country right now, the feelings of the country right now. I've listened to some of his statement, even of recent, which is a sign of a good thinking, sign of good reasoning, sign of feeling the pulse of Nigerians. I will encourage him to do that. I will encourage him to engage the entire political system, because, you know, there's a need for him to understand that the political environment is very dicey. He needs the nation on board. He needs every citizen on board. I have read his statement, which is very good, which is very credible. He mentioned a lot of things that touch the nerves of the people, and I believe and I hope he will work on it, as he mentioned. He has a very good history to deal with, so he should strengthen that history. And then, of course, whatever at the end of the day the court decided will stand by the decision of the court. But for now, before the final judgment of the court on the various court cases that are ongoing, we believe he should take a leadership responsibility very effectively, very efficiently, you know, with engaging the system robustly, so that you will reduce the level of acrimony, the level of pains, the level of frustration the country is going through. I have seen also the issue of central bank is at the front burner. Nigeria are threatening to shut the central bank down because of this currency circulation. The fact of the matter is that people cannot afford to feed 3 times a day. That is the situation. The Central Bank of Nigeria have committed an economic sabotage for the country, and there's the need to investigate that. You can't hijack public funds, you know, without any justification. The contract between the bank and customers is that they will have access to their money anytime. There is no any law that authorizes the banks to hijack the public funds. You know, the pains are enormous. They are extremely very, very hard. They bite extremely very, very high. So if the president-elect have not gone into this, or his think tank have not started digesting these issues to come up with policies and programs that will soften the situation, I'm telling you, you'll find it extremely very difficult to move on.
All right. Having said that, some analysts are of the opinion that your party is not visible enough, hence couldn't win much. So what are you doing to expand your tentacles?
I don't know what they mean by visibility. I believe SDP was more visible, participated in a lot of conversations of ideas more than any presidential candidate. If you say we don't have the money, you know, to oil our structures, I agree with that. I've given you the analogy of the presidential candidate, which is factual, and it is also in record. We don't have that resources. We don't have any source of income. Look, the party that we are seeing today, SDP have the best structure, physical structure you can talk about in Nigeria, better than any political party. We have reached out to virtually everywhere. We did not go for revenue generation. We went for quality individuals to win for election. And that's what gives us some of the advantage we have gotten. We did not go for revenue generation. We went for quality of people. Some of them we make sacrifices to put them there because we know they represent a better Nigeria, a prosperous Nigeria. So in terms of visibility, SDP is very visible. It's not SDP of briefcase parties. We are not a briefcase political party. I've mentioned this severally. We have structure in all states of the federation. We have offices nationwide. Of course, we are not visible in terms of money because we don't have public funds. We have no access to public funds. But in terms of quality of the people that manage the party, there's no party that can beat the quality of people that are in SDP today. I bet you go and take stock of all the leadership of all the parties nationwide. We have some of the best quality people that can run the affairs of the party. But yes, we don't have money to deal with some of the exigencies expected of us to do. We admitted that clearly, and there's no way we can go and steal money to do it. So we deal with issues, we deal with facts. We have some of the best manifesto, we have the best constitution. Go and check our constitution. Most of the people that have joined this party stated it clearly on air, including Otedo Peter said that he joined SDP because the constitution is very good, it's solid. We took time, we brought quality people to look through our constitution and our manifesto. But like I said, the weaponization of poverty can destroy any good thing that you have, because people are not in charge of the intellectual faculty. People are thinking about their daily survival. How will they survive within 1 hour, 2 hours? What can they have to sustain their family? I saw a program yesterday where people are having mental issues because of depression. And that is the truth on ground. The economy is extremely bad. We were trying to recover from recession, and then they came up with this currency saga that have taken the economy down on its knees. You know, you can't get access to your personal funds. Not to talk of policy and program policy of the government that is economic based, that is weak, that is on its knees. They cannot stand on their feet. The government of today, economically, they are not on their feet. And they have accepted failure on both sides. So we are urging the entire citizens to understand the dynamics that we are in, the situation we find ourselves, and of course, despite the hostile environment, we are able to navigate through and generate some quality, you know, people that were voted into office. We are grateful to Nigerians.
All right, Alhaji. On the program tonight is the National Chairman of the Social Democratic Party, Shehu Musa Gabam. When we come back from this break, we will continue with examining the 2023 elections and Nigerians. Welcome back to the program, and I still have with me the National Chairman of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, Shehu Musa Gabam. We're examining the 2023 elections and Nigeria's stability. All right, Alhaji, now, these elections brought so much bad blood and acrimony among Nigerians. For you, why do we have this development in our politics?
First, politicians are responsible. I must admit this. Some of the terrible and treacherous, you know, situation the country is going through, the political actors are responsible. Instead of uniting the country, they went on ethnic campaigns, dividing Nigeria, using all sorts of formats that are very negative for the country. And that is why we are paying the price that we are paying today. And since there is no deterrence, this kind of situation will continue. When you allow lawlessness to prevail over the ability of the citizens to see reason and deal with it morally and intellectually, the country has to pay for it. If we do not solve this problem will envelop each and every one of us. This problem will overrun each and every one of us. Some of the things that have happened in the states, I have never thought ordinarily it would have happened. If you listen to what the former governor of Rivers State have said, Amechi, you know, those revelations are mind-boggling. You know, there are more that I hope it will remain classified for now, for the interest of peace, unity, and stability. But some of the things that have taken place, you know, a normal human being that is in control of his intellectual sanity, you know, would not have believed such thing will happen. Politicians should learn how to be patriotic, should learn how to love their country, should learn how to work together. President Muhammadu Buhari, when he was elected into office for the second time, said that he will run a government of inclusiveness. This party supported him. He never did so. Rather, he was very vicious on some of the parties that even supported him. The ability for him to seize the opportunity, be a father figure, galvanize the party, even call meetings of leaders or chairmen of political parties, have an interface with them, discuss with them, they have the pulse of the country, so that collectively we can solve the problem of Nigeria. He decided to ignore virtually all leaders of political parties. Even when this electoral act was signed into law, he refused to sit down with leaders of political parties. We contributed immensely to shaping the 2022 Electoral Act. Now, if a leader of a country do not see any reason why he should sit with stakeholders to listen to them, and then the security agencies, it is only the IG of police that have made an attempt to sit down with leaders of political party, listen to them, have first-hand information of what is going on. You know, it is difficult for anybody to solve the problem. You must agree that you don't have the monopoly of anything to solve a problem. You need quality input to deal with some of the problems. History record as such that few leaders that have ruled this country, e.g. President Babangida, brought some of the best brains to drive the country. You know, during Shagari regime, there was utilization of power. We believe that those who are privileged right now to be elected to lead the country must reflect back, must look at Nigerian history, Nigerian record, where we were before. You know, the quality of people that have struggled for the independence of Nigeria are not close to the quality of the people that we have now. Education is all over the country. A lot of people are well educated, but of course, they pushed that aside. They went into regional, ethnic, religious bigotry in their consideration, in their analysis, in their perceptions. And that is why today you cannot find somebody of any tribe going into another state and contesting election, because we are still moving in a way of primitivity instead of progressively moving the country forward as Nigerians. I will also advise that we should do away with indigenship in this country. You know, it is high time for the country to move on. And I hope that the incoming leadership will look into critical areas in the Constitution that is creating this problem to deal with it holistically, so that Nigeria can be the giant of Africa, as being mentioned all over the place. If we cannot conduct election in the state peacefully, if a governor can use the advantage he has to bribe his way through security agencies, impunity and recklessness, and then the system still recorded him and announced the result, it means that we have a lot of challenges that we don't know who will solve it. With the level of exposure that we have in every state of the federation, you have a lot of professors. We don't have them before the independence, but we have them today. But still the quality of thinking and conversations are going low. It's a very shameful thing indeed, and I do hope that anyone that is in the position of power or authority will reflect back and see how do we move Nigeria forward. This is one of the most gifted countries on earth. Everything you are looking for is here in Nigeria. The natural mineral resources that is endured in Nigeria is nowhere, anywhere on earth. But our biggest disaster is leadership, and then the followership as well. Someone that has been weaponized by poverty, you use that poverty to buy, and you take away his thinking. You take away his ability to see reasons. So it's a very terrible situation. I must admit that we are all responsible as political actors, media organizations. We are all responsible for dividing Nigeria the way it is right now. And we must learn our lesson to move this country forward.
All right, Alhaji. Now, still talking about some of the factors that shaped the outcome of the presidential election. Many say the outcome of the 2023 presidential election is a replica of 1993, when SDP won with a Muslim ticket. What impact do you think this will have on the polity?
Well, you know, once you have multi-political parties, you are not likely to escape from some of these issues. If you look at the mathematics very clearly, those who want to win election, who are operational positions, must deal with statistics. Those statistics is what will give them an idea where to pick their vice presidential candidate from. Of course, if the presidential, like Atiku Abubakar from the PDP, pick his running mate from the South. Now, we in SDP, our presidential candidate is from the Southwest. The VP is from the Northwest. Now, you can't do away with these facts based on geographical reality that we are in. So the Muslim ticket is based on the party challenges and factual analysis. What can we do to win this election? It's far beyond religion. Those who are bringing religion is simply because they have lost out completely. Those who made me who I am today are not just Muslims. Majority of them are not Muslims. Those who contributed to who I am today. So for me to talk about religion or ethnic or regional issues, I'm doing a great disservice to this country. A lot of people contributed to who I am today. My loyalty is to my country. And the moment we deviated from these facts, you know, how do we strengthen our common objective? And if you look at the marriages system in our country, the intermarriages that have ravaged this country, there's no individual that have the capacity to divide this country. And so if the options are limited, it means that we must commit ourselves to building a great nation. There is no Fulani man that can tell you he have no marriages relationship with either Igbo or Yoruba or any other ethnic tribes. And there's no Yoruba man that will tell you that the entire Yoruba people have not married either from the southeast or from the north or from anywhere. So we are already mixed up by nature, and there's nothing we can do about it. Yes, those who are supposed to drive the process, to develop the process, are the drivers of dividing the country into this balkanization of religious, ethnic, regional thing for their own benefit, not because it has a national interest. There is no national interest there. So most of the campaigns, if you listen to them carefully, people campaign along ethnic and religious issues. You see presidential candidates visiting religious centers, you know, driving their campaigns on religious ground or ethnic ground or regional grounds. I think this thing should be dealt with in the Electoral Act or in the Constitution so that we can do away with some of these things, and the process of disqualifying anybody who capitalizes campaign on religion or ethnic grounds, if we want to build a very strong country that we can all be proud of. One thing is very clear. Our children, our younger generation will ask us questions that will be struggle to answer. There's no two ways about it. Right now, even my children have been asking me questions that I'm struggling to answer them. Not to talk of in the next 10, 15 years. How do we explain this situation? How do we come about this? We are so daft that we don't understand our right from our left or our left from our right, or is it a deliberate policy to keep on weaponizing poverty, expanding it so that people cannot have the time to think properly, to reason properly, and you continue to exploit the innocent people? The explosion will be uncontrollable. We cannot control it. We have seen a sign of SARS. We have seen what happened even in this election in Kano State, where people take laws into their hands. We have seen it in Rivers. People take laws into their hands. And we have seen executive recklessness endorsing illegality, rascality at the level of governance. So it's a multifaceted, crisis that we could not manage. And I've been saying this. President Obasanjo demonstrated capacity to contain excesses of governance. Because if you do not contain excesses of governance as a president, you will fail as a president. If you allow governors to do things recklessly the way they want, take away the resources of the state without any deterrence, there's no way Nigeria can move on. So whoever that is the president, at this instance, President Bola Tinubu must understand it is beyond just a freedom of expression. Every freedom is a limited freedom. If you go into somebody's environment, violated his freedom, take away his rights and privilege to survive, then a natural thing to do is to take a decisive action. Leadership is about biting and blowing. Once the law is being violated by whosoever, nobody is indispensable, the law must take its course. That is the only way we can fix this country. A president must take tough decisions that will serve as a lesson to others. So I hope and I pray the president-elect will understand this and will deal with these issues decisively. The era of recklessness should be gone. The issue of immunity should be reduced drastically. Consequences just as in other developed societies.
All right, because you talked about the president-elect, which will lead me to my next question. You advised the president-elect, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to fast-track development and reconciliation in Nigeria through a government of national unity. How achievable is this?
It is very possible. There are discretionary powers of the president. The cabinet formation are discretionary powers of the president. The entire appointments of board parastatals, agencies, heads of presidents are discretionary powers of the president. Now, bringing everybody together doesn't mean that there must be an appointment, but you must also create a conducive environment for people to feel a sense of belief. There are sectors that are virgin. Our agricultural sector is still very virgin. The mining sector is very virgin. The IT sector is still very virgin. Look at most of the areas that you can see developed countries are going into is still extremely untouchable in Nigeria. So those fronts, the president needs to open them so that our younger generation can be engaged. Redundancy can be taken out of their head. People to use them will no longer be visible because they are engaged, they are productive, they are earning a living to help themselves, help their family, help their parents, and then some of this anarchy you are seeing being funded will automatically fizzle away. So it's not just about appointment. It's about opening the economy, allowing the economy to function. Invest heavily in sectors that will take away hunger. Nigeria can feed the entire African countries. Today we are struggling feeding ourselves because of recklessness, because of wrong policy, and so on and so forth. Like I've said, if he committed to it, he will do it. And then every responsible Nigeria will support that program that will enhance our economy efficiency, that will enhance viability of our citizens, prosperity of our citizens, and then you will not find it again. During military regime, virtually every policy of government is being taken to the doorstep of every community. If you remember the Mamsa period, of General Babangida. It's a military administration. Where is the MAMSA today? Where is the National Orientation Agency? For example, this currency saga, has it been taken to the doorstep of the community? Our citizens, were they allowed to contribute? We all wake up and find out the decision has been taken. And the president was saying, I have blessed it. The Minister of Finance says, I'm not aware of it. I've never seen this kind of disconnect in leadership in the history of Nigeria. It's so obvious, it's so factual. So I'm sure the president-elect, there are facts on ground, there are material on ground for him to use immediately to whittle down the tension that have ravaged the country.
All right, so what will you consider the biggest challenges facing Nigeria that will require urgent attention by the president-elect upon inauguration?
Number one is security. Any country that is suffering from security challenges will not avoid economic consequences, because even the local investor will not invest in an environment that is very violent, that is driven by bigotry, ethnic or religious considerations, which means that fundamental responsibility of any president is the protection of lives and property of Nigerians. That is number one. Number two, you must create the political environment for the investors to come in, both foreign and domestic investors. The environment must be friendly so that investors can feel safe to fly in their capital into the country, create jobs. Again, one fundamental thing that he needs to do to ensure there's safety of life and property, the government must engage into technical, creating jobs by developing manpower skill. It is a shame that we are importing design clothes from even Senegal as a nation. If we engage designers in Nigeria, the president, in conjunction with the state governors, can train over 5 million fashion designers, can train over 5 million furniture finishing establishments, can train over 5 million plumbers all over the country. They are daily needed. Can train over 5 million electricians all over the country. There are multiple fronts the president can prioritize to reduce redundancy, because redundancy contributes to insecurity. Some of these kidnappings are uncalled for. You see children conniving to kidnap their parents, kidnap their fathers, their mothers, their brothers, and their sisters, looking for ransom. What is simply because people have no way to turn around. There's a completely abdication of responsibility by the federal government to inject virtually everything that is needed to stabilize the economy. The state governors are hijacking the state resources into their personal pocket. They call it my money, into state security votes. This should not be allowed to continue. Governors buying private jets, governors building houses like villa, and security agencies are aware, and it continues to flourish all over the country. And we want to have a good life. We want to give equal opportunity for everybody. So this aggression is going to take this country down if care is not taken. And I believe that if the president-elect is committed to peace, stability of Nigeria, he will do it. It's not a miracle. It's not a rocket science. He can do it. Right. We can solve our domestic problem. We have everything it takes to solve our domestic problem.
Fantastic. All right, Alhaji, because of time, let me quickly ask you my final question. How would you rate the participation of the youths in this election?
Well, I can tell you that I'm somehow disappointed, because in the registered voters, almost 70% are the category of youths. What I mean youth, a combination of young men and young ladies or this thing. Now, when you see how young men have compromised inducements, and these are same category of people that are calling for good governance. Some of them are graduates. They have traveled around the world. They have seen first-class infrastructure all over the world. They have seen first-class hospitals and so on, referral hospitals. Today, they happen to be one of those that do not stand very firm, compromises the system, or behave in an ethnic or regional way. I can tell you, I feel a bit disappointed with such mentality. I do hope they will understand that the future belongs to them. They are the ones to shape the future of Nigeria. No matter how the elite want to shape the future of this country, if the youth are not supportive, if the youth are not cooperative, for jobs to be created for them, for posterity to be designed in a way that they will benefit from it, the future will develop along with them, then we are in for a bigger trouble, because the level of unemployment will continue to rise, because as they are, once they complain, money will be thrown to them, they will fight over the money, kill themselves, and then they fulfill their future. This is what I've seen playing out. I hope they will go back to the drawing board.
All right, thank you very much, Alhaji. I've been speaking with the National Chairman of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, Shehu Musa Gabam, as we examine the 2023 elections and Nigeria's stability. It is a pleasure having you on the program, and I most appreciate your brilliant perspective to all of our issues every time you are on our program. Thank you very much, Alhaji, for coming.
I'm most grateful. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on Twitter at Stevenson News NG and at Olajumoke or using the hashtag Politics Tonight. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Goodbye.
Ovi, you and Seward every time? What's it happen? I beg put you for Africa Magic, yo. He get one better new series for showcase.
Wale, you dey play? We don't get that channel. Africa Magic Showcase.
Why don't we then step up and get boosted, Sir John?
Time to step up and enjoy top entertainment. Yes, we step up and get boosted. Yeah, bro.
Upgrade your subscription and get boosted to a higher package. If you are on DSTV Confirm, upgrade to DSTV Compact and get boosted to Compact Plus at no extra cost. Step up today and get a boost on us.